We are live on YouTube. Welcome to today's broadcast. It is absolutely freezing here in the UK. The temperature has definitely changed. Winter is well on its way. I have seen reports actually of snow in some countries already. But there's been a real change to the temperature here in the UK. And a little bit of insight for you. Up until about 10 minutes before starting this broadcast, I was indeed wearing an extra sort of body warmer type jacket and a woolly hat indoors in the editing room. But the temperature is gradually increasing as I've put the heating on, and I'm ready to really take a look at a product that's going to help you take your gaming to the next level. And it is a fantastic product. We've seen this sort of router before, but this is something very, very special. It's from Linksys. This is it sitting here. It's the WRT32X gaming router, and I've left a link to it down in the video description to both where you can pick it up for yourself and also to the Linksys website. Now, before I talk to you about this product and about its features and about how I feel about it, how it's been performing, I do want to just bring you right up to date with the broadcast that's happening. It might be later this week, or I might possibly postpone it until next week so that I can have some more hands-on time with it. Vodafone very kindly sent me out this smartphone here. Now, you will have seen me do a video on the Xperia XZ1. This is the XZ1 Compact, so an even smaller smartphone. Really nice to hold, gorgeous screen as well, and for all intents and purposes very similar camera performance, if not identical, to the larger XZ1. This broadcast is not about this. I've purely just unboxed it, used it for about 24 hours so far, and I'm really liking it. So I'm going to do a more in-depth, hands-on and first impressions, call it a mini review if you will, after I've used this over the rest of this week. So you might see the live broadcast about the XZ1 Compact the latter part of this week or early next week. So moving on, I will just do a little bit of housekeeping for you as well. We have got the chat up here, so if anyone wants to leave any questions, you can leave questions. If you want to use Super Chat, that will highlight your chat and bring it to my attention. Or indeed, if you've just got a comment that you want to chime in with, then please do. We've got plenty of you watching already. An early hello to Aaron Stoy, Darren Gator and Nathan Phillips. Thank you very much for tuning in. I've got a really cool product to show you. Inside the box you do get some cables, obviously. You also get a power supply. You get the router itself, which we're going to take a closer look at in a short while. You also get a quick start guide, and you also get a disc which has got some sort of drivers, utilities and software on. This tells you how to set your router up. So this is really a very, very quick start guide. It sort of opens up. Well, I can't show you that because it's got the password in it, but it opens up to reveal how many steps in total. So literally 6 steps to get this up and running, and it really is very, very easy to get up and running. Now, this hasn't got a modem built into it. This is a gaming router, and you can use this with the likes of many different ISPs. If you're using this or intending to use it in the UK with Virgin Media, and I get asked this a lot, Virgin Media supply you a modem router when you sign up to their service, as do most companies. You need to put that modem router into modem only mode, and most ISPs actually publish the details of how to do this on their website. If not, they're relatively easy to find with a bit of Google search. And once it's in modem only mode, then this then becomes your router. So before I show you the actual product, let me give you a look at the product box. It's a really nice box actually, very, very nice indeed. So this is what the product box looks like, and then on the side here it's got a picture of all the ports, which I'm going to show you sort of a little bit closer anyway on the actual product, so no point in showing you that. And then on this side it's got some of the main features, so if you want to pause this live broadcast after the event, you can take a look at that. And this is basically saying it's got a dual core processor, Dual band as well, it's 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, Gigabit Ethernet, killer prioritization engine, advanced security, so it's got WPA2 encryption and an SPI firewall, and also a customized gaming graphical user interface, which I'll show you again in more detail on your screen in a short while. And that's what the back of the box looks like. Very nice padding inside the box as well. I love it when you get a product and you open it and it's presented really nicely. So let's have a look at the actual product itself. So it doesn't come configured like this. You have to attach the antennas. There are 4 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got a display across the front here. This is where you're going to get all of your status LEDs or indicators. No connections on either side, so completely blank. And then across the back, you've got the connection where you're going to connect to the outside world via an Ethernet cable. Then you've got 4 Gigabit Ethernet sockets. I believe this one here, if I'm pointing in the right direction, just got to double check. This one is a dual port. It's a USB or an eSATA port. This one here, the black coloured one. And then we've got a USB port here as well for connecting external peripherals. We've got a reset button, main on off switch, and then the power. I can't see that close up, but let me give you a little bit more of a close up of that. So you can see all of these ports. So all of these ports for connecting various peripherals and hardwiring things via the Gigabit Ethernet. We've also got a little blue switch here, and that's for, I think that's just for a quick connection to devices. So let me just take a look on here. Wi-Fi protected setup. Yeah, so it's sort of like a setup procedure here as well. So, and then the antennas really do give you good range. Very, very good range indeed. And it's got some nice weight to it. Across the top, we got little perforations all across the top so that you don't get too much heat build up in the unit itself. So that's for heat dissipation. We've got the same on the bottom as well. Plenty of perforated holes across the bottom, and of course the branding on the top as well. It looks very menacing, doesn't it? A lot of these sort of gaming routers take on this stance and look very, very imposing, and this looks amazing. It really is a nice piece of kit. Now I just want to emphasize that these antennas really do increase the range. I tested this just for a couple of days and found that the range on this was extremely good, very, very good indeed. But what I really appreciated was some of the sort of user interface features and some of the technology that's built inside here as well. So without further ado, let's take a look online at some of the extra features you're going to experience with the Linksys WRT32X. So this is a dual band Wi-Fi gaming router. It's got this killer prioritization engine. The actual model number is the WRT32X and -UK if you're in the UK. We've got plenty of really good specification here. If we look at this feature panel on your screen now, we've got the killer prioritization engine, which gives the router the ability to prioritize bandwidth if you're gaming. So this is really important. You want the maximum data throughput, low ping rates or fast ping rates, and that will give you a better gaming experience if you're using this for gaming. Customized gaming firmware and user interface, which we'll take a look at in a short while. 1.8 gigahertz dual core CPU, so this gives a really high data processing performance. The antennas, which I mentioned when I was showing you the actual product, really are good. It really does give an impressive range. We've also got MIMO or MIMO, which is the latest wireless AC technology, multi in multi-out technology. It allows you to actually stream and game on multiple devices. Really good way of doing this sort of thing. Simultaneous dual band, 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. A lot of the routers do this nowadays, and this one's no different. We've also got the advanced wireless security that I mentioned earlier, WPA2 encryption, plus an SPI firewall built in here as well. And TriStream 160, another really great feature, doubles the bandwidth from 80 megahertz to 160 megahertz. So that's a really good feature to have. Full Gigabit Ethernet ports, 4 in total, on the back of the device that I showed you earlier. We've also got that eSATA port, which acts as a USB 2 port as well. And we've also got USB 3 port, that separate USB port. So you can add things like external hard drives, printers, etc. to your network. And if they're not wireless, they become wireless and accessible across your various devices. And then easy setup as well. Really easy setup on this. If we scroll all the way down, this is some of the extra sort of features that they've built in. Lower peak ping up to 77%. So this is a typical usage with the killer prioritization off. We get 74 milliseconds ping. With it switched on, it reduces it to 17 milliseconds. Also, we got this custom built gaming firmware, which further boosts the performance even more. And then this is what I was on about. This is the sort of user interface. It is just amazing. We've got device prioritization, we've got devices panel, and also a dashboard panel. If I give you a little bit of a close up on this, if I can. Let me just put this up in size just so you can see this a little bit clearer. So this is what like the dashboard looks like. Very, very good customization and interface on here. And then this is just some examples of how the technology works with regards to connecting multiple devices. We've also got some information here about how the TriStream 160 helps as well to give you more bandwidth, more data throughput from the device. And it just really is designed to be an awesome piece of kit. I've already shown you the back of the unit, so I'm not going to show you that again, but just to summarize, we have got 4 gigabit Ethernet sockets, one here to connect your modem router, USB 3 for external peripherals, eSATA for the same. You can connect to multiple gaming rigs at the same time, and then of course the reset and the power input. So plenty of features. The tech specs just down here, I'll leave this on your screen for a short while. I won't read through these myself because I think that's pretty pointless, but while you take a look at these tech specs, let's just go back across to the chat and see if we've got any questions in here. Geeky Android Tip says, do you see the questions? Yes, I do see the questions in the chat. If you want priority given to your question, then you're free to use the super chat, but I do answer as many as I can. S Baggins, what's the difference between a gaming and standard router? Well, it's really in the performance given by the hardware here that makes a big difference. As I mentioned earlier, a couple of the features that really do make a difference is this TriStream 160 and also the prioritization you can give to various devices, and that's done via this really good control panel. And then you've got dual core processors in here as well, which make a big difference to performance, as do the antennas. So it's a combination of the hardware and how the firmware and user interface lets you actually interact with that. We shall move on. Good afternoon to you, Ryan. Really nice of you to tune in. And 12 in the morning here in Australia from Lifter. Very nice of you to tune in as well. Darren Gator says, turn the router upside down, antennas facing down. It kind of looks like one of those aliens from Space Invaders. We might try that just for a bit of fun when I come back to showing you the router in a bit more detail. The local Aussie, how would you compare this to the Apple Airport Extreme in terms of range? This absolutely blows that out of the water. It really does. Let me switch back to a screen where you can actually see me. It really does compete far beyond the levels that the Airport Extreme will give you. It just absolutely blitzes it in all departments. I used to use the Airport Extreme and also the latest time capsule in the network between here in the editing room and the studio, and it performed well. It performed okay. It gave reasonable coverage. I was still lacking in certain parts of the building, but it was not fantastic at far to reach places. And something like this with these really high gain antennas has just solved that. It really has. Now, for the most part, like day-to-day use, I use a mesh network, and that's what serves up the broadband Geekanoids HQ, and it works extremely well. I do like mesh networking, but it certainly doesn't give you the blistering fast performance that something like this gives you, and the overall control. What you'll really appreciate with a product like this is not only the range that the antennas give, but also when you're connecting multiple devices, you don't get as much degradation in bandwidth. And also the software here, where you can give device prioritization, is very important if you're a gamer. You want to take away prioritization to things like the smartphones, tablets that other members of the household might be using, and give full prioritization to your gaming PC. And you can do that through the user interface with the Linksys WRT32X. So that's where this really differentiates itself from standard routers, and really differentiates itself from the Apple devices that you asked about. Bradley Cooper, are you getting used to the notch yet? We'll come back to that because that doesn't refer to this product, you're referring to the iPhone 10, but I will answer that a little bit later on. We'll do a general Q&A after I finish talking about this router. So a lot of people say, well, you get given a router. I get told this a lot actually on Twitter, or especially when I've done reviews on previous devices like this, and that is that I get supplied something when I sign up to broadband. So you sign up in the UK to maybe BT Infinity, to TalkTalk, or to Virgin Media, and they supply you with a wireless router. That wireless router that they supply, although things have improved a great deal over the past few years, is never going to be that higher quality. It's going to be fit for purpose. It's going to serve you up the broadband that they're providing to you and allow you to connect maybe a couple of computers. And then once you start connecting things like a few smartphones, maybe a tablet, maybe you've got a household that's got 3 or 4 smartphones that then connect to it when everybody's home in the evening, that's when you start to see a real difference in performance between the ones that you're supplied via your ISP and something like this. And I would invest in something like this if gaming is important to you, or if you really want the absolutely best coverage in a building that might have hard to reach places. So this is going to be a good investment. This is expensive. Let's not beat around the bush here. This is an expensive investment. But if you really do a lot of gaming, or it's really important to you that you can control what gets what amount of bandwidth on your internet connection, then this is worth investing in. This is going to give you a really good experience and eke the most that you can get out of your broadband. Now, I will tell you that sometimes when you change to a third-party router away from what your ISP has actually supplied you, sometimes if you have technical issues down the road, they won't support it. They will say, well, you're using a third-party device, but, and I will add this from experience, I have been using third-party routers with my Virgin Media connection for many, many years, and I have had to use their tech support on 2 occasions, and even though I was using a third-party device, they still gave me tech support. So I can't say that your experience with another provider will be the same, but certainly with Virgin Media they've been very receptive to knowing that people do install third-party kit, and they do have a list of devices that they do support, so it's well worth knowing that. And if they really do say they can't support it, then just put your router back to the default mode, disconnect this or whatever one you're using, get the tech support you need to get your connection back up and running, then put it back into modem only mode and connect the router that you've been using and you've configured to how you want it. So this is a really good device. I also appreciate we've got Gigabit Ethernet ports on the back. Really do appreciate that. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, you never used to get that. You used to just get 100 base T or 10 base T Ethernet ports on the back of devices, mainly 100 base T. But now we're up to Gigabit on pretty much all the routers that are launched. And the fact we've also got 2 USB ports, one of them doubles as eSATA, that's really useful for connecting things like external hard drives and making them wireless. A lot of printers now come with Wi-Fi built in, but if you have got an older printer that hasn't, you can make that accessible across your wireless network if you want to. Now this really centres around wireless performance, but of course if you're gaming and you're a serious gamer, you're probably going to be hardwired, and you still get that same control about giving prioritization to bandwidth. So that's a really good feature to have. I would say if you are into your gaming heavily, Xbox One, Xbox One X, which of course has just come out, then hardwire every single time. I use my Mac Pro here, not for gaming, but for uploading and for a lot of work, and for running these live broadcasts, and it's hardwired all the time. I wouldn't rely on a wireless connection when it's sort of something that's critical to you. So let's dive back in to the questions. Ryan Darcy says, why don't they use a quad CPU instead of a dual CPU? Please forgive my ignorance, as I know little about gaming routers. I think it's all about getting a balance between cost of the device and performance needed, and a quad core CPU would probably be, and I don't know if this is the definitive answer, but would probably be overkill for the type of traffic that it's moving around. So they strike this balance between CPU performance and the price they're able to deliver the product for, and what's necessary for the product, and heat generation. There's a whole lot of other factors as well, and I think you'll find that most top end routers top out at a dual core CPU. Some of them will just have a single core CPU, and some of them perform very, very bad indeed, especially the ones that are provided by your internet service provider. GP1207, what about connection for games like Call of Duty? Well, this will be fine. You know, it's not game title dependent. So any game, you're actually giving priority to the device, not to the game. So if you're gaming on your PC, you're giving the priority to that, and then whatever game you're actually playing will benefit from that awesome connection. Pip Tomlinson, I have the Sky Q router and it loses connection at least once per day. Right, if it's losing wireless connection between your devices, then that's an issue you can probably solve quite easily by introducing a new type of device. If it's just losing the actual external broadband connection, i.e. the connection to the outside world, then that's something that Sky should definitely address for you. It's not uncommon to get dropouts in connection with some service providers. Sometimes it's to do with external boxes and exchange points. Sometimes it's to do with cabling. Sometimes it's to do with the gain that's coming into your router, so they can sometimes adjust the gain. And that solves a lot of problems because it ensures you're getting quality of service from the outside world coming to your router. So that's worth checking. Ask them to troubleshoot it. Say that you're not happy with it being sort of having this intermittent dropout at least once per day. That's not acceptable in my mind. The local Aussie says, I'm curious, Dave, what the internet connection you have, fibre, cable. Down here in Australia we have a system called fibre to the node on Australia's national broadband network. I use Virgin Media, which is a broadband connection. It's cable based. So it doesn't use your existing phone line. It doesn't use fibre optic. Well, no, it does use fibre optic. It uses a cable basically. But it doesn't rely on something like the older connections where you'd have ADSL or ADSL Plus. That would rely on the phone line that was coming into your property, which gave you reasonable speeds, but not anywhere near like what you're going to get through a cable connection. And Virgin Media offer some of the fastest connections available in the UK at the moment, and I get roughly between 200 and 220 megabits per second download speed, and then the upload speed I top out at around about 20 megabits per second. Normally hovers around the 14 to 16 megabytes per second mark, but up to about 20. I wish that I had the option of 100. I'd trade in. I would trade in 100 down and then have 100 up. That's what I would like, because I rely a lot on upload speed for doing things like this. This particular broadcast is using the upload speed. Small packets of data coming down. The majority of the data is using the upload bandwidth. So 14 to 20 megabits per second is good. I can still stream in 1080p, and my download speed is more than good enough for streaming movies at 4K resolution with pretty much no buffering. So it's a really good turn of speed. So anyway, we will put the chat to open questions now. So if you've got any questions at all, anything sort of tech related, put that in the chat now. Whilst you're lining some questions up for me, let's just take one last look at this piece of kit. This is the Linksys WRT32X, really fast dual band router. Uses multi-in, multi-out technology on the antennas. Nice high gain antennas as well. I mentioned earlier it doesn't come configured like this. These come sort of just supplied flat in the box, and you simply just screw these on. Darren Gator asked me to put this down into Space Invader mode just for a bit of fun, so we will do that. So there is your Space Invader configuration. This will not work. Do not stand the router up like this. This is just purely for a bit of fun because Darren asked me to show what this looks like, and it does look like a Space Invader. But these antennas, basically you have to screw these on, and then you can adjust the angle and the rotation on them to get the best performance. They're nice beefy antennas as well, very, very well made. The build quality, not a lot of people talk about this really because it's going to be hidden away most of the time, but build quality is nice grade plastics used, nice array of LEDs across the front, and the LEDs show you which sort of wireless bands being used, also if you've got anything connected to the USB or eSATA ports, and of course which Ethernet ports are in use as well. So we've got 1 through to 4 on here as well, and also if you're using that Wi-Fi protected setup feature, that lights up on the front as well. Overall performance over the past few days of testing this has been extremely good. I've experienced no dropouts at all in my connection to the outside world. I've also experienced no dropouts in my Wi-Fi connection, and I would say if I was trying to give it like a percentage mark on the increase of reach of the wireless signal, I would say probably about a 10% increase in the really hard to reach places in this particular building, around about 10 to 15% increase in sort of stability of the connection and signal strength. So overall really good performer, and I absolutely love the user interface and the features you've got here, which are a priority if you're into your gaming. So this is the Linksys WRT32X. Links down in the video description to both the Linksys website and of course links to where you can buy this for yourself. The price, S. Baggins asked the price, but at the time of doing this broadcast, something like this is going to set you back around about £299 in the UK, $299 in the US. So a big investment, but as I say, if your internet is a priority for you, then I think it's a very worthwhile investment. So let's move on to some other questions. We've got Ryan Darcy saying, Dave, I've seen a lot of reviewers finding faults with the new iPhone X screen and also the keyboard. Have you experienced this? Hallelujah! At last, some reviewers are actually speaking the truth about the iPhone X. You know, when I did my broadcast, the unboxing and initial impressions, and I was saying about the notch, that I just could not get past the notch, and the viewing angles on the screen caused this blue shift, and there are problems in iOS 11. People jumped on me in the comments. I got a lot of private messages as well, really nasty private messages, saying that I was speaking rubbish and I hated Apple and I was being paid by Google. How many times have I got to say in a broadcast or a video that I love Apple products? I've got an iPad Pro. I've used every single generation of iPhone. I'm running this live broadcast on a Mac Pro. I've got an iMac sitting behind me. My portable laptop is a MacBook Pro. I love Apple products and I want them to do well. But iOS 11 is so buggy. The problems people are having with keyboards isn't just isolated to the iPhone X. The issues people are having with the iPhone X screen are isolated to the iPhone X. The OLED technology, it is common that you get this blue shift off axis, but I don't think it's acceptable on a £1,000 phone. And also people are finding that the oleophobic coating has been rubbing off in some areas on the iPhone X screen. Again, not acceptable on a £1,000 phone. iOS 11, which is your user interface, your connection to the hardware, this is how you interact with the hardware, is not good on any of the iPhones at the moment. There are still bugs, and 11.2, so iOS 11.2 has addressed some of the issues, but not all of them. And getting an iPhone X and then experiencing these issues, even the bug where you can't type an I because of the predictive text, is not acceptable on a £1,000 phone. It's not even acceptable on a £500 phone. It's not even acceptable on a £250 or £200 phone. And Apple need to realise that they need to come back. They need to take a step back and start giving people a good experience. So it's a problem. It is a problem. It's not, and again, people say in this broadcast that I'm really attacking Apple on this. It's not isolated just to Apple devices. We've had the Pixel 2 XL, which has had a lot of screen issues, including oleophobic coating issues on the screen as well. So other manufacturers are having issues with their hardware. Not so much with software on the Google experience, but they are having hardware issues as well. And they need to start addressing it. They really need to start addressing it. Ian May, hi Dave, I'm glad to catch the live chat. I'm usually at work. How are you finding the Note 8? Got one on Monday. I no longer have the Note 8, Ian. I was intending to keep it long term, but I found it to be just a little bit top heavy, a little bit too big and cumbersome for my use. I like the larger screen smartphone, but I just found it to just sort of be sort of top heavy and stick out of my pocket. And beautiful screen though. That's how you should do an OLED screen on a smartphone. And great performance as well. And the cameras were good. Very, very good. Don't start me talking about cameras, because I had an experience with the iPhone 10 front-facing camera, portrait mode, and it did a terrible job. And a few people jumped on me and said, well, it's in beta. They say it's in beta. Well, you've just bought an iPhone 10. You spent either £999 for the lower capacity or £1,149 for the higher capacity. You want to use front-facing portrait mode, and it's a beta feature, so it's cutting you out and making the background blurred, but it looks like a 5-second Photoshop job. They shouldn't release a product or a feature until it's ready. You know, I know it will improve with time, but they shouldn't release it until it's ready. Chokan says 579 megabits per second up and 462 megabits per second down here. Wow, that is amazing. And that's in Japan. Wow, that is very, very fast. Virgin Media is in fact the fastest in the UK at the moment. I would love to have those speeds. I am green with envy. I'm very envious of those speeds. That is absolutely amazing. The local Aussie. One last question, Dave. Is your MacBook Pro currently connected to the monitor to the right of you? No, it's not. My MacBook Pro is not connected to anything. I'm purely just signed into the chat on the MacBook Pro, so I can sort of spread the bandwidth between two devices. So I can see the chat, respond to your questions. The monitor sitting here is connected to my Mac Pro, and that's what's running the Wirecast software and the live broadcast. Chokan also says, can't believe people would send messages like that. Some people. SMH. I know, it just doesn't make sense. All I'm doing is trying to share, and this was what I intended to do from when I first started Geekanoids, which, believe it or not, was over 11 years ago. My intention was always to share my knowledge, my passion for technology, so that I could give viewers the opportunity to make an informed purchase or an informed buying decision. So if something doesn't work very well, then I will say it. If something's too expensive, I will say it. If something works extremely well, then I will sing its praises. If a company gives bad customer service, I will tell you about that as well. Yes, admittedly, it doesn't do me any favours. I don't get loan devices from certain manufacturers. I complained about customer service from a particular manufacturer just recently, and about 6 to 9 months ago, maybe a year ago actually, I complained profusely about the customer service that I was receiving from another manufacturer, and it didn't do me any favours. But I wouldn't be doing myself justice or anybody else a good service if I didn't tell you about these things. So if I didn't tell you that the notch sticks out like a sore thumb on the iPhone 10 and the blue cast is there when you turn the screen, then I wouldn't be doing what I set out to do. So, and with regards to this, somebody mentioned in the chat that that's a lot to spend on a router, and yes, admittedly, £299 is a lot to spend on a router. Linksys do some slightly cheaper ones which almost perform as good, but if you want top-notch performance, then it's a reasonable investment. Of course, it would be great if this was available for £199. If you can't afford it at the moment, then wait a few months and you may find that the price on this particular model drops. So, you know, you have to vote with your money, and if you want good performance and if you want good customer service, then put your money with companies that will give you that service and that particular product. So anyway, I went off on a little rant there. Back to the questions. Life's Life is at Leamington College. Good job. I love people who actually study, expand their knowledge, expand their horizons. Both my children are in uni, and good on you. I hope your studies are going well. Bradley Cooper, Steve Jobs would have never let the iPhone X hit stores with anything labelled beta. I wholeheartedly agree. Spot on. Darren Gator, and I know this is a tongue-in-cheek, Dave hates Apple, lol. Thanks for the laugh, Dave. It's obvious that people who posted those comments have never watched your channel. And yeah, I have to take that on board. I really do. It's a really fair comment, actually, because you see people labelled as trolls. Some of them are coming in just for a reaction. But sometimes when I've got people in the live broadcast, they're asking me questions that I've answered before. I'm not expecting everyone to have ever watched all of my videos. But certainly if you search on YouTube for Geekanoids customer service, you'll see me speaking about some of these other manufacturers that I don't recommend. I will still talk about their products, but that will always stay with me, the fact that I spent good money with them and then they didn't actually deliver on any sort of after service promise. So do search that on the channel. And again, if I do come off as sort of skipping over your question, say I've answered that before, then I do apologise in advance, because not everyone has watched all of my videos. And believe me, there are 7,560 of my videos somewhere out there on the internet, mainly on the Geekanoids channel, but also spread across some other channels as well. GP1207, my MacBook Pro is running out of hard drive space. Is anything I can do to avoid having an external hard drive to my laptop, please? My Netgear router has USB on the back, but I find it slow to transfer. Right, first thing I would do is, if you're running out of space, back up your data. So you are going to have to invest in an external hard drive of some sort. Maybe not one for all of your main sort of work, but invest in a hard drive. Around about sort of £40 to £50 can get you a 1 terabyte external hard drive. Back up, so you've at least got a backup. Also back up to the cloud, so you've got an off-site backup as well. And then look at companies like OWC, Otherworld Computing, or MacSales.com if you're in the US. They sell upgrades for the internal storage on some, not all, but on some MacBook Pros. And if yours is one of those that you can upgrade, then that may be the way to go, which would be to back up in a couple of different destinations, swap out the internal storage if that can be done, or take it into a service provider and ask them if they can do it, and then put your backup back onto the new storage. So that would be what I would start sort of investigating. Start doing a little bit of research as to what's available for you. Life's Life, well, that's great to hear, Dave. I may be going to Birmingham City Uni next year, but still waiting for the offer. Very best of luck with that. That is awesome to hear. Chokan, Mech in Japan, says, you have a ton of vids. I certainly do, and I'm proud of it. And Costa's Galaxy, hello from Greece. Peter Westerland, but you had a principle of not spend money on Apple to support them. Then you collect money to buy the iPhone X. Peter, you've watched my broadcasts many, many times, and you're familiar with the channel. I get products in so that I can share my experience with you. I don't class myself as a journalist. I class myself as a content creator and somebody who's very passionate about technology. And I set out my initial principles for the Geekanoids channel, which was to share with you information and passion for technology and when things don't work. And the iPhone X was actually purchased in on the premise that I would cover it on the channel, and then I already had a buyer for it. So it wasn't something I was going to make my daily driver, but it was something I was going to look at objectively. If I had fallen in love with the iPhone X, if it hadn't been for the notch, if iOS 11 ran nice and smoothly, if there wasn't any of these app crashes, rotation bugs, keyboard issues, screen issues, then I would have still sold on the iPhone 10 because I would have honoured the prior agreement I had with this particular person prior to getting it in. But then I would have worked hard and I would have ordered my own iPhone 10, but I didn't enjoy the experience. And I would be doing you a disservice as a viewer if I didn't at least share my opinion. And everyone's opinion is valid, but I share my opinion because a lot of people like to hear what I've got to say about technology. So of course I went out to spend money on the iPhone 10. I didn't collect any money in the device fund for the iPhone 10. I actually purchased it with my funds, knowing that I would cover it and then I would move it on. And that's how some of the devices come into the Geekanoids studio. Some of them are sent into me as review units, some of them I purchase with business funds, some of them then get sold, and that's how things get rotated. Otherwise, I wouldn't have room to sit 7,560 videos. My editing room and my studio would be full up with boxes. Technology moves on and I cover it. Same as this really awesome little phone from Vodafone, the Sony Xperia XZ1. Amazing product. I've got a maximum of 2 weeks for this and then it goes back. So I've got to use my 2 weeks wisely with this. Life's life. This is going to be the last question of the broadcast. Do you think it's worth getting the iPhone 10 despite its high price? In my opinion, no. But in your opinion, it may well be. If you love Apple devices and the ecosystem and you can look past the notch, so you can ignore that and you can look past the issues with iOS 11 at the moment, then it is overall a really good performance device. The rear camera, amazing. The screen, when you're looking at it straight on, amazing. Very, very nice, crisp, bright colours. The camera on the back as well, wow, does it take some good photos. So if that's for you, then it's worth buying. For me, I think it's too expensive. Even at £600 or £700, I probably wouldn't buy one, purely because of the issues that I experienced. And I will take one more question. Ryan Darcy. So after the iPhone 10, what are you currently using as your daily driver? I'm currently using my iPhone 7 Plus because I've got a lot of review units coming in. I'm going to use this as my daily driver, the XZ1, for a couple of days before I actually share my opinion with you. The hottest, most likely contender is a toss-up actually between 3 different phones for my daily driver, because I am going to be switching away to Android. And it's either going to be the Razer phone. I've reached out to Razer. I hope that they saw me reaching out both via Twitter and email. You could reach out to Razer as well if you want. If you want to tweet their CEO and ask them to send at Geekanoids a new device to review, then please do. So that's the first contender. The second contender is the Huawei Mate 10 Pro. Looks like a really nice device. Again, I've reached out to them. And then the third contender is, in fact, are you ready for this? The HTC U11 Plus. Really very, very interested in that device. 6-inch display, but in a slim sort of size. I've mentioned this in the previous broadcast. That was destined to be the Google Pixel 2 XL, but it didn't become that particular smartphone because Google went with LG. That looks like a very, very interesting device for me, purely because of the camera or the potential camera performance on that particular smartphone. So anyway, that's all the questions I'm going to answer in this particular broadcast. In closing, if you want an amazing performance from your router for your broadband, this was or is the Linksys WRT32X. It has got some amazing features inside: a dual core processor, gigabit Ethernet ports, a really good range, and the software and user interface really allows you to customize this to give you the best performance possible. So that's it for this broadcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for all your questions. Hit that like button on the video. It will be up on the channel to watch after the event very, very soon. I'll see you all again soon. in another one.